Admiral Deho was drinking his morning coffee when the universe decided to become interesting. He sat in his command chair on Mars Defense Platform 7, watching the red planet spin slowly below. The coffee was terrible, like always, but it kept him awake during the long night shifts. The communication officer, Lieutenant Ji Woo, looked up from her console. Her face was confused. "Sir, we have an incoming transmission." "It's strange." "Strange how?" Deho asked. He put down his coffee cup and walked over to her station. "It's on all frequencies at once. And sir, it's addressed to the entire human race." Deho raised an eyebrow. In his 20 years of military service, he had never heard of anyone sending a message to all humans at the same time. "Put it on the main screen." The holographic display in the center of the command room flickered to life. A tall, thin creature appeared. It had blue skin and 4 arms. Its head was shaped like an egg, and it wore what looked like a fancy uniform covered in gold decorations. The creature's eyes were large and black, and when it spoke, its voice was deep and serious. "Greetings, primitive humans," the alien said. "I am Ambassador Velthar of the Galactic Dominion. For 3,000 years we have ruled this galaxy. We have conquered 12 star systems and brought order to countless worlds." Deho looked around his command room. His officers were all staring at the screen. Some of them looked surprised. Others looked like they were trying not to laugh. The alien continued talking. "Your species has been observed. You are young and violent. You fight among yourselves and destroy your own planet. But the Dominion is merciful. We offer you a chance to join our great empire. Here it comes," whispered Sergeant Hyunwoo from the weapons station. "You have exactly 1 solar cycle to surrender," Velthar announced. "Give us control of all your worlds. Submit to Dominion rule. Accept our guidance. If you refuse, we will be forced to take your worlds by strength." The alien paused, looking directly into the camera. "Do not think to resist us. Your technology is primitive. Your weapons are weak. Your ships are slow. We have studied you for many cycles. You cannot win against the might of the Dominion. We await your answer," Velthar said. "Choose wisely." The transmission ended. The command room was quiet for a moment. Then Lieutenant Jiwoo started to giggle. She tried to stop herself, but the giggling became louder. Soon Sergeant Hyunwoo was laughing too. Within seconds, the entire command crew was laughing so hard that tears ran down their faces. "Did he just—" Deho began, trying to catch his breath. "Did he just threaten us with primitive technology?" "Sir," gasped Communications Officer Young-soo, "should I record our response?" Deho wiped his eyes. "Yes, and make sure to send a copy to Earth Command. President Hyejin needs to see this." 2 hours later, Deho was in a video conference with Earth's leadership. President Hyejin sat at the head of a long table in the Situation Room. Defense Minister Tai Sung was on her right, and General In-soo was on her left. Around the table sat the heads of every major military branch and scientific department. "Show us the message again," President Hyejin said. They watched Velthar's transmission for the 3rd time. When it ended, the room was silent for a moment. Then Defense Minister Tai Sung started chuckling. Soon everyone in the room was laughing. "Primitive technology," General In-soo repeated, shaking his head. "They think our technology is primitive." "Sir," said Dr. Boram, the head of Earth's Science Division. "Should we tell them about the quantum drives? Or the matter compilers? Or the fact that we've been to 47 different galaxies?" President Hyejin held up her hand. "Let's think about this carefully. These aliens seem to know very little about us. What exactly have they observed?" Dr. Boram pulled up a data pad. "Based on their transmission, they've probably been watching our outer colonies. Places like Mars, Europa, and Titan. They might have seen our older ships and our basic fusion reactors. The ones we use for civilian transport," added General In-soo. "Exactly," Dr. Boram continued. "They have no idea about our real technology. They don't know about the deep space fleets or the advanced research stations. They certainly don't know about the Prometheus project or the dimensional laboratories." President Hyejin leaned back in her chair. "So they think we're still using fusion rockets and chemical weapons?" "It looks that way," Dr. Boram said. "They probably scanned our outer system and saw what we wanted them to see." Defense Minister Tai Sung smiled. "The stealth protocols are working perfectly." Admiral Deho joined the conversation from Mars. "Ma'am, what are your orders? Should we prepare for war?" President Hyejin thought for a moment. "Let's send them a response first. Keep it simple. What should we tell them? Asked General Insu. President Hyejin grinned. Tell them no, just no. Admiral Daeho asked. Just no. Communication Officer Youngsu set up the transmission equipment. President Heejin sat in front of the camera. Behind her, the Earth Council members tried to look serious, but several of them were still smiling. This is President Hyejin of Earth, she said into the camera. We have received your message, Ambassador Velthar. Our answer is no. We will not surrender. We will not submit. We will not join your dominion. She paused, and a small smile appeared on her face. Thank you for the offer, though. Behind her, someone could be heard trying not to laugh. The sound was picked up by the microphones. That is our final answer, President Heejin concluded. Have a nice day. The transmission ended. Around the table, the Earth Council members burst into laughter again. Think they'll understand that? Asked Defense Minister Taesung. Probably not, said Dr. Boram. They seem to have trouble with simple concepts. Admiral Daeho's voice came through the speakers. Ma'am, should I alert the deep space fleets? Not yet, President Hyejin replied. Let's see what they do first. But go ahead and put the home fleet on standby. And Admiral? Yes, ma'am. Make sure Commander Subin knows she might get to test her new toys soon. Will do, ma'am. As the meeting ended, President Heejin looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, an alien empire thought it could threaten humanity. They had no idea what they were dealing with. Dr. Boram gathered her papers. Ma'am, should I prepare the usual briefing materials? In case they actually try to attack? The ones showing our real capabilities? President Heejin asked. The basic ones. Nothing too advanced. We don't want to give them heart attacks. President Hyejin nodded. Good idea. And Doctor? Yes, ma'am. Make sure to include the footage from the Vega system. The part where we moved the star. Dr. Boram smiled. Of course, ma'am. Outside, Earth continued its peaceful orbit around the sun. In deep space, automated monitoring stations recorded the movements of alien ships. And in the hidden research facilities scattered throughout the solar system, human scientists continued their work on projects that would have seemed like magic to the Galactic Dominion. The aliens had made their threat. Humanity had given its answer. Now everyone waited to see what would happen next. Far away on the Dominion capital world, Ambassador Velthar received Earth's response. He played it 3 times, certain there had been a translation error. Surely these primitive creatures understood the power of the Dominion. Surely they realized how hopeless resistance would be. He called for his advisors. They would need to explain to these humans exactly what they were facing. Perhaps a demonstration of Dominion power would make them see reason. After all, how dangerous could one small primitive planet possibly be? General Kang Min stood in the war room of the Dominion capital ship, staring at the holographic display that showed everything they knew about humanity. The information was spread across dozens of screens, showing star charts, ship designs, and weapon specifications. To any Dominion officer, it looked like a complete intelligence report. To General Kang Min, it looked like a joke. These are their warships? He asked, pointing at images of human vessels. The ships looked small and simple, with clean lines and no decorations. They're so plain. Where are the weapon arrays? Where are the shield generators? Lieutenant Zorhan, his intelligence officer, nodded eagerly. That's what makes them so primitive, sir. Look at this. He highlighted one of the human ships. This is what they call a battleship. It has only basic fusion reactors for power. The hull is made of simple metal alloys. We detected no energy shields at all. General Kang Min walked closer to the display. He had conquered 17 different species in his career. He knew what advanced technology looked like. These human ships looked like something his ancestors might have built. What about their weapons? He asked. Even more primitive, Lieutenant Zorhan replied. They use kinetic projectiles. Chunks of metal fired at high speed. No energy weapons, no plasma cannons. No quantum disruptors, just metal bullets, sir. Metal bullets, General Kang Min repeated slowly. And they think they can fight us with metal bullets? It appears so, sir. The general shook his head. In his long military career, he had seen many foolish enemies. But this was beyond foolish. This was almost sad. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Boram was having a very different conversation with Commander Sujin in the Deep Space Research Facility hidden inside Asteroid Belt. They were reviewing the same intelligence data, but from the other side. They actually believe our cover story, Dr. Boram said, laughing. She was looking at intercepted Dominion communications on her screen. They think the civilian transport ships are our military fleet. Commander Su-Jin grinned. She was a tall woman with short black hair and the kind of smile that made enemies nervous. The stealth protocols are working perfectly. They can't even detect our real ships. Dr. Bo-Ram pulled up another screen. Look at this. They analyzed the fusion reactors on the Mars colony ships. They think that's the best power source we have. Those reactors? Commander Su-Jin asked. My daughter built one of those for her science fair project. And it won third place, Dr. Bo-Ram added. They both laughed. The fusion reactors the Dominion was studying were indeed the ones used on civilian vessels. They were reliable, simple, and easy to maintain. They were also about as advanced as a stone axe compared to humanity's real technology. What do they think about our weapons? Commander Su-Jin asked. Dr. Bo-Ram scrolled through more intercepted data. They're fascinated by our kinetic projectiles. They think we're still using gunpowder. Technically we are, Commander Su-Jin pointed out. The mass drivers on the outer defense platforms do fire solid projectiles. Yes. But they don't know the projectiles are made of compressed neutronium and accelerated to 90% of light speed. Commander Su-Jin nodded. To them, a bullet is a bullet. Dr. Bo-Ram brought up another file. They also don't understand our ship designs. They think we can't build proper armor because our hulls look too thin. If they only knew, Commander Su-Jin said. The human ships looked simple because they were made of materials that didn't exist in the Dominion's periodic table. The hull of a basic human transport ship could survive a direct hit from a star-going supernova, but to alien scanners it looked like ordinary metal. Back on the Dominion capital ship, General Kang Min was meeting with War Master Zeph Cole, the supreme commander of the Dominion fleet. Zeph Cole was an impressive figure, standing 3 meters tall with scales that changed color depending on his mood. Right now they were a confident gold color. General, Zeph Cole said in his deep voice, I have reviewed your intelligence report on the humans. Are you certain of these findings? Completely certain, War Master, General Kang Min replied. We have observed them for 6 months. Their technology is at least 500 years behind ours. Then why did they refuse our generous offer of surrender? General Kang Min had been thinking about this question. I believe they simply don't understand the situation, sir. They're an isolated species. They have never encountered a force like the Dominion. They probably think their small fleet can actually fight us. War Master Zeph Cole's scale shifted to an amused green color. How many ships do they have? Our count shows approximately 200 vessels total. Most are small civilian craft. They have perhaps 30 ships that could be considered military vessels. 30 ships, Zeph Cole repeated. We have over 3,000 in our main battle fleet alone. Yes, sir. The math is quite simple. What neither alien knew was that at that very moment, Captain Minho was listening to their conversation from his stealth corvette, which was hovering less than a kilometer away from their flagship. His ship was completely invisible to Dominion sensors, and his passive listening equipment could pick up conversations through the hull of enemy vessels. Control. This is Scout 7, he whispered into his communication system. You're going to love this. They think we have 30 military ships. The voice of Admiral Su-Bin came through his earpiece. 30, that's adorable. What else are they saying? Captain Minho adjusted his equipment to get a clearer signal. The big one with the scales just said they have 3,000 ships in their main fleet. They seem very proud of that number. 3,000. Admiral Su-Bin repeated thoughtfully. That's actually impressive for their technology level. Make sure to get detailed scans of their propulsion systems. The Science Division wants to study primitive FTL drives. Already on it, Admiral. These engines are fascinating. They're using quantum crystalline cores for power. My grandmother's fishing boat has more advanced engines than their flagship. Your grandmother's fishing boat has dimensional phase drives, Admiral Su-Bin pointed out. Exactly. Back in the Dominion War Room, General Kang Min was explaining his battle plan to War Master Zeph Cole. We'll jump the main fleet to the edge of their solar system. A show of force should convince them to surrender immediately. If not, we can disable their primitive ships without destroying them. Minimal casualties, maximum intimidation. Zeph Cole nodded approvingly. A sound strategy. How long do you expect the operation to take? From arrival to surrender? No more than 1 standard hour, sir. Possibly less. Excellent. Begin preparations immediately. I want the fleet ready to move within 3 cycles. As the meeting ended, neither alien noticed the small distortion in space near their communication array. Captain Minho's stealth ship had recorded everything. and was now transmitting the data back to human command. On Earth, President He-jin was reviewing the intelligence reports with her military advisors. "They're planning to intimidate us into surrender," she said. "Standard Dominion tactics," General In-soo observed. "They've used the same approach on 12 other species." Defense Minister Tae-sung looked thoughtful. "Should we prepare a response fleet?" "Already done." Admiral Subin's voice came through the communication system. "I have the 7th Fleet standing by. That's probably overkill, but I want to be prepared." Dr. Borum checked her datapad. "The 7th Fleet has—" "How many ships?" 57 active vessels," Admiral Subin replied. "Plus support craft." President Hyjin smiled. "And the Dominion thinks our entire military has 30 ships." "Ma'am," Admiral Subin continued, "should we reveal our actual capabilities when they arrive?" "Not all of them," President Hyjin said. "Let's start small. We don't want to give them panic attacks." Dr. Borum pulled up the tactical display. "I recommend we use standard defensive protocols. Nothing too advanced. Maybe just demonstrate that their weapons can't hurt us." "Sounds reasonable," the President agreed. "What about our response?" "I suggest we use Class 2 defensive measures only," Admiral Subin said. "Just enough to disable their ships without destroying them." Defense Minister Tae-sung laughed. "You're going to fight 3,000 ships with Class 2 weapons?" "Sir, I could probably handle their entire fleet with my personal sidearm," Admiral Subin replied. "But Class 2 weapons seem more appropriate for diplomatic purposes." As the meeting ended, humanity began its preparations. The preparations were very simple. Make sure the recording equipment was working properly. This was going to be worth watching. In deep space, the Dominion fleet began gathering. 3,000 ships, the pride of the galaxy's most powerful empire, preparing to crush a small primitive planet that had dared to say no. They had no idea what they were flying into. The Dominion fleet arrived at the edge of the Sol system with all the ceremony and grandeur that 3,000 years of galactic conquest could provide. War Master Zefkul stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Glory, watching the blue-white star grow larger on his screens. His scales glowed a confident gold color as he surveyed his massive fleet. "Magnificent," he said to General Kang Min, who stood beside him. 3,000 ships, the finest warriors in the galaxy, and the most advanced weapons ever created. No primitive species has ever seen such power." The Dominion ships were indeed impressive to look at. Each vessel was decorated with elaborate carvings and glowing energy patterns. The largest ships stretched for kilometers, bristling with weapon arrays and shield generators. Energy discharges danced between the ships as they maintained formation, creating a light show that could be seen from distant planets. "Sir," reported Navigation Officer Velshan, "we have reached the outer edge of the human system. No sign of enemy vessels. They're probably hiding behind their planets," General Kang Min suggested. "Primitive species often try to use terrain for defense." War Master Zefkul activated the fleet communication system. His voice boomed across all channels, transmitted on every frequency the Dominion knew. "Attention, humans of Sol System. This is War Master Zefkul of the Galactic Dominion. You are surrounded by the greatest fleet in galactic history. Your resistance is hopeless. Surrender now, and you will be treated with mercy." He paused dramatically, watching the sensor screens for any sign of human ships. "You have one of your time units to respond. After that, we will be forced to demonstrate the price of defying the Dominion." On Mars Defense Platform 7, Admiral Daeho was watching the same sensor screens, but he was seeing something very different. Where the Dominion saw an overwhelming force, he saw what looked like a collection of antique museum pieces. "Lieutenant Jiwoo," he said to his communication officer, "are you getting energy readings from those ships?" "Yes, sir," she replied, checking her instruments. "Their power signatures are interesting." "Interesting how?" "Well, sir, they're using quantum crystalline matrices for their main power. That technology is at least 400 years old, and sir, their shields are based on electromagnetic field manipulation." Admiral Daeho blinked. "Electromagnetic fields? That's what we used on our first space stations." "Yes, sir, before we figured out how to manipulate space-time directly." Sergeant Hyun-woo looked up from his weapons console. "Sir, should I target their ships?" "With what?" Admiral Daeho asked. "The standard defensive array, sir." Admiral Daeho thought about this. The standard defensive array on Mars Platform 7 was designed to destroy asteroids and space debris. It had never been intended as a weapon, but compared to what he was seeing from the Dominion fleet, it might as well have been a planet killer. "Hold off for now," he said. "Let's see what they do first." On Earth, President Hyejin was in the Situation Room with her advisors, watching the alien fleet through the Deep Space Monitoring Network. The network used sensors that the Dominion couldn't detect, giving humanity a perfect view of everything happening in their solar system. "They certainly like to make an entrance," she observed. Dr. Boram was running analysis on the alien ships. "Ma'am, I'm getting detailed scans of their technology. It's actually quite good for their era." "Which era would that be?" Defense Minister Taesung asked. "About the same level we were at during the early colony days, maybe slightly more advanced in some areas, slightly less in others." Admiral Subin's voice came through the communication system from her flagship. "Ma'am, permission to respond to their ultimatum." "What did you have in mind?" President Hyejin asked. "Something simple. Maybe offer them directions to the nearest refueling station. Their ships are leaking exotic matter into space." President Hyejin smiled. "That sounds perfectly reasonable." "Go ahead, Admiral." On the bridge of the Eternal Glory, War Master Zefkol was beginning to grow impatient. The humans had been silent for nearly half their allotted time. Perhaps they were too frightened to respond. "Sir," Communication Officer Yeltar announced, "incoming transmission from the human vessels." "Finally," Zefkol said. "Put it on screen. Let's hear their surrender." The main screen flickered, showing a human woman in a simple blue uniform. She had short black hair and calm, intelligent eyes. Behind her, other humans could be seen working at various stations. "This is Admiral Subin of the Human Home Fleet," she said politely. "We've received your transmission, War Master Zefkol. We noticed that several of your ships appear to be leaking exotic matter from their engine cores. Are you in need of assistance? We can provide directions to the nearest repair facility." The bridge of the Eternal Glory fell silent. War Master Zefkol's scale shifted from gold to a confused purple color. "Is she offering to help us?" General Kang Min asked quietly. "I believe so," Zefkol replied. Admiral Subin continued speaking. "We also noticed that your fleet formations are causing some gravitational interference with our outer planet's orbit. Would it be possible for you to move your ships a few thousand kilometers further out? We'd appreciate it." War Master Zefkol felt his confusion growing. This was not how conquered species were supposed to respond. Where was the fear? Where was the panic? Where were the desperate pleas for mercy? "Human Admiral," he said, trying to regain control of the situation, "you seem to misunderstand your position. You are surrounded by the greatest military force in galactic history. Your choices are surrender or destruction." Admiral Subin looked puzzled. "I'm sorry, but I think there might be some kind of translation error. Are you trying to threaten us?" "Yes," Zefkol roared. "I am threatening you." "Surrender or face the wrath of the Dominion." Admiral Subin's expression became sympathetic. "Oh, you poor thing. You actually think you can threaten us?" She turned to someone off-screen. "Lieutenant Haywan, are our shields even raised?" A voice responded from somewhere behind her. "No, ma'am." "Should I raise them? Why?" Admiral Subin asked. "Those weapons couldn't damage our waste disposal systems." War Master Zefkol felt something he had never experienced in his military career. Complete confusion mixed with growing dread. This human was talking to him like he was a child playing with toy spaceships. "You doubt the power of Dominion weapons?" he demanded. "Then witness." He turned to his weapons officer. "Target the largest human vessel. Fire plasma lances at full power." The Dominion flagship's main weapons erupted in brilliant streams of contained stellar fire. Plasma lances capable of cracking moons lashed out across space, striking the human ships directly. The energy release was so intense that it briefly created new auroras on the distant planets. When the light faded, the human ships hung in space exactly as they had before. "Not a scratch. Not even a scorch mark, huh?" Admiral Subin said, checking her instruments. "Did you feel that?" Lieutenant Haywan's voice came from off-screen again. "Feel what, ma'am?" "I thought something might have hit us. Must have been space dust." Captain Dong Hyun, commander of the battleship Indomitable, opened a communication channel. "Admiral, my coffee cup just vibrated slightly. Should I file a report?" "Probably just the solar wind," Admiral Subin replied. War Master Zefkol stared at his sensor readings. According to his instruments, the plasma lances had struck the human ships with enough energy to vaporize a small moon. The human vessels should have been reduced to their component atoms. Instead, they seemed completely unaffected. "Fire quantum torpedoes," he ordered desperately. "All weapons. Maximum firepower." The Dominion fleet unleashed everything they had. Quantum torpedoes that could twist space-time itself. Graviton beams that could crush matter into neutron density. Energy weapons that could ignite atmospheres. Wave after wave of destruction poured toward the human ships. The humans continued their conversation as if nothing was happening. "Oh, now I feel something," said Lieutenant Haywan. "It's like someone tapping on the hull with a small hammer." "Annoying," Captain Donghyun agreed. "Should I file a noise complaint?" Admiral Subin sighed. "Let me handle this." She looked directly into the camera. "War Master Zefkol, your weapons are creating a minor disturbance. Could you please stop? Some of our crew members are trying to sleep." War Master Zefkol felt his world collapsing around him. His most powerful weapons were having no effect whatsoever. The humans were treating the greatest military assault in Dominion history like a minor inconvenience. "How?" he whispered. Admiral Subin heard him. "How what? How are your ships undamaged?" "Our weapons should have destroyed you completely." Admiral Subin looked genuinely surprised. "Oh, were those attacks supposed to hurt us? I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were trying to be hostile. Your weapons are very pretty, but they can't really damage our ships." "Why not?" Zefkol asked, his voice breaking. "Well," Admiral Subin said thoughtfully, "it's like trying to damage a mountain with a water balloon. The energy levels just aren't in the same category." General Kang Min stepped forward. "What are your ships made of?" "Standard hull materials," Admiral Subin replied. "Same stuff we use for civilian transports. Nothing special." What she didn't mention was that standard hull materials included artificially created elements that existed in a state of quantum superposition. Admiral Subin looked at the confused aliens on her screen and felt something she had rarely experienced in her military career. Pity. These creatures had come here expecting to conquer humanity, and now they were discovering that their most powerful weapons were completely useless. She decided it was time to show them exactly what they were dealing with. "War Master Zefkol," she said gently, "I think there's been a misunderstanding. You seem to believe you're a threat to us. Let me help clear that up." She turned to her weapons officer. "Engineer Yujin, please power up the portside navigation light." "Ma'am?" Yujin asked, looking confused. "Just the navigation light?" "Yes, set it to the lowest power setting. We don't want to damage their ships too badly." Engineer Yujin, a young woman with bright eyes and quick fingers, looked at her control panel. "Ma'am, the navigation light isn't really a weapon. It's just for marking our position in space." "I know," Admiral Subin said, "but compared to their technology, it should be more than sufficient." Yujin shrugged and activated the system. A single, thin beam of blue light emerged from the human flagship. It looked no more dangerous than a flashlight. The beam moved slowly across space toward the Dominion flagship. To the aliens watching, it appeared to be nothing more than a scanning beam or perhaps a communication laser. Then the beam touched the Eternal Glory. The effect was immediate and precise. The beam passed through the Dominion ship's shields as if they didn't exist. It cut through the advanced armor plating like it was made of paper. It traveled deep into the ship's core and surgically removed exactly one component, the main computer core that controlled the bridge systems. Suddenly, War Master Zefkol's bridge went dark. Emergency lighting flickered on, but every screen, every control panel, every communication system was dead. The only thing that still worked was life support. "What did you do to us?" Zefkol demanded, his voice shaking. Admiral Subin's image appeared on a small emergency screen that the blue beam had somehow activated. "I removed your main computer core. Don't worry, it didn't damage anything else. Your crew is perfectly safe. Your engines still work. Your life support is fine. You just can't control your weapons or communications anymore." General Kang Min stared at his dead control panels. How did your beam pass through our shields?" "What shields?" Admiral Subin asked, looking genuinely puzzled. "Our electromagnetic defense barriers," Zefkol explained. "The most advanced shield technology in the galaxy." Admiral Subin blinked. "Oh, those. We stopped using electromagnetic shields about 400 years ago. They don't really stop anything useful." "What do you use instead?" General Kang Min asked weakly. "We don't," Admiral Subin replied. Our hull materials are strong enough that we don't need shields. The truth was more complex than that. Human ships did have defensive systems, but they operated on principles that the Dominion couldn't even detect. Their hulls existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously, making them effectively untouchable by three-dimensional weapons. President Hyejin's voice came through the communication system from Earth. Admiral Subin, I think it's time we had a proper conversation with our guests. Yes, ma'am, Admiral Subin replied. She looked back at the alien commanders. War Master Zefkol, I'd like you to meet someone. The screen split, showing both Admiral Subin and President Hyejin. The president was sitting in her office on Earth, looking calm and professional. Greetings, War Master, President Hyejin said. I'm President Hyejin of Earth. I think we need to have a talk. Zefkol's scales had turned a deep purple color that indicated extreme distress. What are you? We're humans, President Hyejin replied simply. Just like we told you. But your technology, General Kang Min protested. Your weapons. Your ships. This is impossible. President Hyejin leaned forward slightly. War Master, how long has the Dominion controlled this galaxy? 3,000 years. Zefkol answered automatically. And in all that time, did you ever wonder if there might be other species out there? Species you hadn't discovered yet? We surveyed the entire galaxy, General Kang Min said. We found everyone. Dr. Boram's voice joined the conversation. Actually, you found everyone who wanted to be found. We've been watching you for quite some time. A new screen appeared showing Dr. Boram in her laboratory. Behind her, holographic displays showed detailed maps of the galaxy, with markers indicating Dominion territory. You see, Dr. Boram continued, humans have been spacefaring for much longer than you realize. We've been exploring this galaxy for over 600 years. We've also been to 47 other galaxies. 47? Zefkol whispered. Oh yes, Dr. Boram said cheerfully. This galaxy is actually quite small compared to some of the others. We consider it a nice, quiet neighborhood. President Hyejin took over the explanation. War Master, your Dominion has existed because we allowed it to exist. We've been quietly protecting this galaxy from external threats while you focused on your local conquests. External threats? General Kang Min asked. Gamma-ray bursts, rogue black holes, supernova events, hostile entities from other dimensional planes. Dr. Boram listed casually. The usual cosmic hazards. We've prevented 17 extinction-level events in this galaxy over the past 3 centuries. Admiral Subin added, We've also been maintaining the galaxy's spiral structure for optimal habitability. Did you think those star formations just happened naturally? War Master Zefkol felt his understanding of the universe crumbling around him. You're saying you've been managing our entire galaxy? Not managing, President Hyejin corrected. Protecting. We believe in letting species develop naturally. We only interfere when absolutely necessary. Dr. Boram brought up a holographic display that showed the Dominion's expansion over the centuries. We've been watching your empire grow. You've actually done quite well for your technology level. You've brought peace to 12 star systems, established trade routes, and generally improved life for billions of beings. We have, General Kang Min asked, confused. Of course, President Hyejin said. We wouldn't have let you continue if you were actually harmful. You're a positive force in the galaxy, just a small one. Admiral Subin gestured to something off-screen. Engineer Hyejin, please show them the galactic overview. A massive holographic display appeared showing the entire galaxy from above. The Dominion territory was clearly marked, appearing as a small cluster of stars near one edge. This is your empire, Dr. Boram explained, highlighting the Dominion space. 12 star systems, quite impressive for your technology level. Then the display zoomed out, showing 17 other areas marked in different colors. Each area was significantly larger than Dominion space. These are the other civilizations we're currently protecting and guiding, Dr. Boram continued. Most of them don't know about each other, and none of them know about us. War Master Zefkol stared at the display. The mighty Dominion, which he had believed controlled the entire galaxy, was just one small region among many. And all of them were apparently under human protection. But why? He asked. Why protect us? Why not conquer us yourselves? President Hyejin smiled. Because conquest is inefficient. It's much better to let species develop their own cultures and technologies. Diversity makes the galaxy more interesting. Besides, Admiral Subin added, what would we do with conquered territories? We already have everything we need. Dr. Boram brought up another display. We can create matter from energy, manipulate time and space, travel between dimensions, and build planets from scratch. What could we possibly gain from conquering primitive civilizations? Primitive, General Kang Min repeated weakly. I'm sorry, Dr. Boram said, looking embarrassed. That was rude. I meant developing civilizations. President He Jin leaned back in her chair. War Master Zefkol, I'm going to offer you 3 choices. First, you can continue this conflict, in which case we'll be forced to disable your entire fleet. Second, you can retreat to Dominion space and pretend this never happened. Or third, she paused, letting the suspense build. You can join us. Join you? Zefkol asked. As junior partners in our Galactic Protection Program, President Hyojin explained. We could use the help. There are some projects coming up that require a lot of ships and personnel. Admiral Subin added, nothing dangerous for your technology level, mostly escort duties and disaster relief work. But you'd be making a real difference in the galaxy. Dr. Boram brought up images of massive construction projects in deep space. We're building a new transit network that will connect all the major civilizations. It's a 1,000-year project, and we need reliable partners to help maintain it. War Master Zefkol looked around his darkened bridge. His mighty fleet was helpless. His most advanced weapons were useless. His empire was revealed to be a tiny speck in a galaxy full of civilizations he never knew existed. But these humans were offering him a chance to be part of something bigger, something that actually mattered. What would we have to do? He asked quietly. President Hyojin smiled. First, you'd need to learn about the real galaxy. Dr. Boram will give you access to our basic educational databases. Then we'll start with simple assignments and work up from there. And our empire? General Kang Min asked. Remains exactly as it is, Admiral Subin assured him. 6 months later, War Master Zefkol stood on the observation deck of his flagship, watching something that would have been impossible to imagine just half a year ago. Human engineering crews were working alongside Dominion technicians, upgrading his ship's systems with technology that made his old weapons look like stone tools. The work was being supervised by engineer Yu Jin, the same young woman who had casually disabled his ship with a navigation light. She was patiently explaining to his chief engineer how to install quantum phase modulators, speaking slowly and using simple terms. Remember, she was saying to Engineer Torval, these modulators exist in 7 dimensions simultaneously. If you install them in only 3 dimensions, they won't work properly and might cause your ship to turn inside out. Engineer Torval, a veteran Dominion technician with 40 years of experience, was taking careful notes like a first-year student. And the power requirements? Almost nothing, Eugen replied. Maybe 1,000th of what your old systems used. The hard part is getting the dimensional alignment correct. Zefkol shook his head in amazement. His engineers were learning more in a few months than the Dominion had discovered in centuries. And this was just basic technology by human standards. General Kang Min joined him at the observation window. The education programs are going well, he reported. Our tactical officers are learning about real galactic threats. Did you know there are entities in deep space that eat entire star systems? I'm beginning to think we knew very little about anything, Zefkol replied. The humans have been very patient with us, Kang Min continued. Dr. Boram gave our science division access to their elementary school databases. Our best researchers are still trying to understand the basic concepts. On the main screen, Dr. Boram was giving a presentation to the combined Dominion Council. The council members, who had once believed themselves the masters of the galaxy, now listened with rapt attention as she explained the true structure of the universe. As you can see, Dr. Boram was saying, pointing to a holographic display, this galaxy is part of a local cluster of 47 galaxies. We maintain protective networks around all of them. Counselor Thexmar raised one of his 4 hands. Dr. Boram, when you say protective networks, what exactly do you mean? Automated defense systems that prevent hostile entities from entering our local space, she explained. Some of these entities are from other dimensions. Some are artificial intelligences that consume matter, and some are just very large and hungry. Another council member asked, how large? Dr. Boram adjusted the display to show a creature that dwarfed entire solar systems. This one feeds on stellar cores. We had to relocate it to an empty region about 50,000 light-years away. The council chamber fell silent. Counselor Thexamar finally asked, And you do this regularly? Oh yes, Dr. Boram said cheerfully. It's part of basic galactic maintenance. Actually, that's why we need your help. She brought up a new display showing construction projects scattered throughout the galaxy. We're building a new transportation network that will connect all the inhabited systems. It's quite a large project. The display showed massive structures being built in deep space. Some were the size of planets, others stretched across entire star systems. These are transit nodes, Dr. Boram explained. They'll allow instant travel between any 2 points in the galaxy. The network will make trade, communication, and emergency response much more efficient. War Master Zefkol watched his former enemies explaining technology that made his previous understanding of science look like primitive cave paintings. 6 months ago, he had commanded the most powerful fleet in the known galaxy. Now he realized he had been commanding the equivalent of wooden sailing ships. Captain Dong Hyun's voice came through the communication system. War Master, we have your first assignment if you're ready. Zefkol activated his response channel. What kind of assignment? Escort duty, Captain Dong Hyun replied. We're moving a damaged star to a safe location, and we need ships to make sure no one gets too close during the process. Moving a star? General Kangmin asked quietly. Standard procedure, Captain Dong Hyun explained. This one is going to go supernova in about 50 years, and there are inhabited planets in the blast radius. We're relocating it to an empty region where it can explode safely. Zefkol tried to process this information. The humans talked about moving stars the way he might talk about moving furniture. How many ships do you need? He asked. About 100 should be enough, Captain Dong Hyun replied, just to keep curious observers at a safe distance. The actual star moving will be handled by our specialized equipment. An hour later, the Dominion fleet was following human ships toward a red giant star that was showing signs of instability. Zefkol watched through his enhanced sensors as human vessels took positions around the star. Beginning stellar relocation procedure, announced the human fleet commander. All escort vessels maintain minimum distance of 10 million kilometers. What happened next would have seemed like magic to the old Zefkol. Invisible forces reached out from the human ships and gently grasped the star itself. The massive ball of nuclear fire began to move, slowly at first, then faster, traveling through space like a guided missile. How are they doing that? Asked Engineer Torval from his upgraded sensor station. Gravitational manipulation, Eugen explained over the communication channel. We're creating artificial gravity fields to guide the star's movement. It's like using invisible ropes. The energy requirements must be enormous, Torval said. Not really, Eugen replied. We're not fighting the star's gravity, we're redirecting it. It's actually quite efficient once you understand the physics. The star, along with its collection of dead planets, moved steadily toward its new home in an empty region of space. The entire process took 6 hours. Mission complete, announced the human fleet commander. Thank you for your assistance, Dominion fleet. Your positioning was perfect. Zefkol felt a strange sense of pride. For the first time in his career, he had been part of something that actually mattered. They had just saved billions of lives by moving a star, and he had helped. Back on Earth, President Hyejin was meeting with her advisors to review the integration progress. How are our new partners doing? She asked. Admiral Subin pulled up status reports. Very well, actually. They're eager to learn and quick to adapt. Their ships are now equipped with basic defensive systems that should keep them safe during routine operations. Dr. Boram added, their scientists are making excellent progress. Give them a few more years and they'll be ready for more advanced assignments. What about the other galactic civilizations? Defense Minister Tae-sung asked. How are they reacting to the Dominion joining our program? Most of them are curious, Admiral Subin replied. A few have asked if they can join as well. I think word is spreading that there are benefits to working with us. President Hyejin nodded. That's good. We could use more help with the upcoming projects. Dr. Boram brought up a long-term planning display. The transit network construction will take about 800 years to complete. The stellar engineering projects will take even longer. And then there's the Andromeda contact mission. Andromeda? Defense Minister Tae-sung asked. Our nearest neighboring galaxy, Dr. Boram explained. We've detected signs of advanced civilization there. We'll probably make contact within the next few centuries. President Hyejin smiled. It'll be nice to meet some species that are closer to our technology level. Meanwhile, in Dominion space, children were attending new schools where they learned about the real universe. Young Dominion citizens studied mathematics that described 17 different dimensions, physics that explained how to manipulate time and space, and history that covered the adventures of species in distant galaxies. Little Zara Lynn, a 7-year-old Dominion child, raised her hand in class. "Teacher, will I ever get to visit other galaxies?" Her teacher, a patient human named Ms. Yoonji, smiled. "Probably. By the time you're grown up, we should have the intergalactic transit network completed. You'll be able to visit 47 different galaxies." "Will there be other children there?" Zara Lynn asked. "Millions of them," Ms. Yoonji replied. "All different species, all with their own games and stories and ideas." The classroom full of young Dominion students buzzed with excitement. Their parents had grown up thinking the Dominion controlled the entire universe. These children would grow up knowing they were part of something infinitely larger and more wonderful. On his flagship, War Master Zefkol received a new mission briefing. This time, they would be helping to construct a new research station near the galactic core. The station would monitor cosmic background radiation to detect signs of activity in other dimensions. "It's important work," Captain Dong Hyun explained during the briefing. "We've been getting some unusual readings lately. There might be something interesting happening in the parallel universe next door." "Parallel universe?" Zefkol asked. "Oh yes," Captain Dong Hyun replied casually. "There are thousands of them. Most are empty, but a few have developed their own civilizations. We try to maintain friendly relations when possible." Zefkol realized he was still learning new things about the universe every day. 6 months ago he had thought,